welcome to Gentle Yoga at Noontime. I'm Jeani, your host for the next hour. We are hopefully going to warm up our major joints and muscle groups as we usually do, have a walking meditation to kind of fire up our inner furnace, and it just gets everything nice and flowing. Today's class, we usually go through a balance and a cool down as we might make our way down to the mat, but we're going to be working a little more while we're in standing position today. Right after our walking meditation, we'll be using some stretches around the shoulders to hopefully open up the chest, shoulder girdle, get everything from hopefully the neck on down to the fingertips and all along the back, worked out, especially if you've been very active working that area. We're also going to hopefully have some hip opening with the help of a chair. Blocks will be used as well. If you don't need the chair to meet the mat, you can always do these stretches in our traditional yoga poses that you're familiar with on your own. But you can also try with the prop of the chair and kind of see if you can get a little deeper into the poses today. Anyhow, that being said, let's go ahead and start at the back of the mat. And as we arrive, you don't need to do too much except, yes, the sound is on, except just notice how the body is feeling as you come to the mat. Feet at the back, and you might just have a gentle bend to the knees. In our first home base pose of mountain, we're just settling in. It's not really an actively held pose, but there is some activation. We'll start though kind of loose, and as we go through each return to our mountain pose, you might get a little longer, a little more solid in your foundation. So we'll begin by cultivating our breath. As we're a little quieter now, bringing the left hand to rest on the chest, right hand under the belly. Just notice the next few breaths in and out. On the next inhale, you may feel at that slower, more controlled breath, the top of the inhale has a lifted hand on the chest. Shoulders may even be a little bit longer, a little taller, reaching towards the ceiling. Exhaling, feeling the air leave the lungs. Gently press in the belly hand as you reach the bottom of the exhale. Engage the core. Just firm up the belly. And then our breath cycles become a little smoother, a little longer. We can finish cultivating the yogic breath, the ocean breath, with the sound of a wave at the back of the throat on both the inhale and the exhale. Let's go ahead and bring our hands down to the sides. Give yourself a little gentle bend to the knees, bounce, roll to the toes, roll to the heels. And we'll start warming up the joints, just giving ourselves the next inhale to lengthen through our mountain. Feel like the crown of the head is lifting. Joints are gathering all under one another. Exhaling, feeling that energy return, reverse order, back down the body through the feet to the earth, fully rooted at the bottom of the exhale. Draw the belly button in. Inhaling, start to roll the weight at the toe, at the center of the feet towards the toes. Get to that tipping point, hopefully at the end of the breath. So all you have to do is use the next breath to slowly roll the weight towards the heels. That slow, steady motion to explore how you're feeling today, how grounded or maybe how achy you might be feeling in just the mountain. We'll go ahead and return to center, somewhere above the ankles, near to the heels. Sink on into our mountain and let's reset, inhaling a little taller, a little longer in the legs. We're just going to energize ourselves upwards at the crown of the head. Exhale, roll the weight towards the outer right edge of the feet. Long, tall body, keeping feet still on the floor, nice and flat. Inhale all the way back up to center or to the other side. Decide if you want to use a 2-part breath, just breathing left to right, inhaling and exhaling, or if you want to breathe up to the center in an inhale and over to each side with an exhale. Just get that horizontal mapping at the soles of the feet, and we'll return to center. Sinking back into center, somewhere at the top of the ankles. Inhale, once more, lifting up through the crown of the head, feeling maybe all points of the feet really flattening against the mat. We're going to make small circles at the ankles, radiating outwards. Just a subtle enlarging of that mapping at the soles of the feet. Yes, your hands may just come out a little bit so you can balance if you're finding a little bit of balance issues this morning. And then we'll find that perimeter. How far to the edge of the feet can you identify? And then let's bring those circles back in towards the center, like water going down a drain. Setting back into our mountain. Go ahead and inhale to reset once more. Lifting all the way up, gentle tuck of the chin. We're just moving in the opposite direction. Another journey, another orbit around the perimeter of the feet, but just in a different direction. Still identifying the perimeter, noticing if that feels differently in those very same ankles, knees, joints of the hips. And then we'll settle back in towards the center. Settling in to the mountain once more. We're moving on up the body. Let's go ahead and lift each foot, just in case you have a tendency to grip the mat. And just settling gently into one side of the body. Go ahead and lift the right heel and make small circles at the ball of the foot. Doesn't have to be big, just small in one direction. And then get it going in the other direction. Slowly stop, reverse direction. You have that range of mobility, then go ahead and bring that foot back down. Inhaling tall once more. Go ahead and bring standing weight to the right leg, just a gentle bend to the knee if you need. And go ahead and roll at the ankle in one direction with the left foot, lifting the heel. And go ahead and do the same roll, a little differently perhaps though, in the opposite direction. You can feel it in the ankle, maybe a little in the knee, more so maybe in the hip though. And then go ahead and bring that foot back down. Rebalancing, even distribution of weight on both feet. Go ahead and come back to our mountain, resetting once more. We're moving on up to the torso. And here you can bring the feet out a little bit if it feels good, but we're just going to rock from side to side, bringing that center of gravity, just rocking over. And then we'll start to quiet down the heels and pivot on the heels as we start to turn the torso more towards one side or the other. So if you're on the right side turn, lift the right sole of the foot at the ball. If you're at the left ball of foot comes up. And you're just moving in a gentle swaying, rocking motion. Not actively moving the arms, just letting the momentum of rocking, swaying, swiveling from side to side, just moves those arms. Maybe you might end up tapping the hands against a hip, a thigh. Hopefully you feel so relaxed there isn't any activation at the top of the shoulders. And then we'll go ahead and let that energy peter out. Return to center. Come on down, bring the feet back under the hips in our mountain. And reset as you need. Sometimes a gentle bounce, sometimes a lengthening and then a bend again at the legs. See how your mountain is growing. Coming back, we'll move on up to the shoulders. And at this point, see if you can gently lift up with the torso, tuck under the tailbone, and just gently guiding the hips forward so we can lengthen upwards. When I first come to practice, almost always, especially as I first wake up in the morning, I'm tented from all the hip flexion. If you've been sitting all day long, whatever you've been doing, arthritis in the hips, if there's a flexion to the hips, what we're hoping to do is lengthen upwards so we can tuck under the tailbone, lift up, get those abs working, firing, the thighs, the glutes, the feet, inner rotation of the thighs so we can just plant ourselves and support the bottom of our body. And as we're more upright, less flexed in the hips, we have the better stability as gravity bears down at the crown of our head. So moving on up, let's come up to the shoulders now, palms facing forward. Inhale, lifting up through the crown of the head once more, our mountains lengthening each time. Lift up the shoulders until they stop. Exhale, roll them back and let them melt down. See if you can get the points at the bottom of the shoulder blades to tuck into the mid-back. It's a total of 4 of these. Inhaling up, we exhale, roll them back and down. See if you can use that ocean breath to really facilitate the inhale of bringing energy into the body, lengthening through the body. And on the exhale, releasing. If you find any achiness, let that go with the breath. Feel rooted at the bottom of the exhale, engaged core. And after that, we'll do this once more, but our second round is going to inhale the shoulders up and forward roll on the exhale this time. Total of 4, once more. See if you can get that ocean-like breath to help roll the shoulders. Release any tension. That slow, steady breath. Then after your last breath, go ahead and lift the feet, reset the mountain if you need. And then inhaling tall once more through the crown of the head, lifting up, feeling a gentle tuck of the chin. That string at the crown of the head lifting up towards the ceiling. Let's go ahead and exhale. Let the right ear dip towards the right shoulder. Left and right shoulder in one line. Inhaling, we feel length all the way up to the chest, in fact. Exhale, turn the gaze. Use the next few breath cycles. Palms facing forward to help rotate the shoulders away from the ears. Feeling rooted, hopefully. If you lift it up on the left side as you transition the gaze to the right side, just exhale, bring balance back to the left side in line with the right. And if you can, at the last exhale, see if you can just rest the eyes to the rightmost of your vision. You can inhale the eyes, the gaze, the crown of the head lifts completely towards the ceiling. Exhale, let the left ear dip towards the left shoulder. Inhaling to lift. Exhaling to turn the gaze and root from the shoulders down. Take the next few breath cycles. See if you can release through the right side of the neck, maybe even through the eyes. There's a direct connection between the organs of the eyes to the brain. I think that in the nose. 2 main connections. So if you can relax the eyes, sometimes you can really relax a headache. Other parts of the body begins to relax. All right. After that last exhale, go ahead and bring the eyes, the head completely back up at the top of the inhale. So all you have to do is exhale. Let the eyes float towards the top of the mat. See if your foundation changed. Did you roll out the ankles? Did you roll them in? As we make these transitions, see if you can return to center. And here, there's a space, at least a tennis ball size space, underneath the chin and the chest. Inhaling, just that slight tilt of the crown of the head towards the diagonal, towards the ceiling still. Melting the shoulders down the back, really feeling nice and rooted without too much effort. Steadiness, comfort, and steadiness in our pose. After that very last exhale, let's go ahead and inhale the eyes up towards the midline, past the midline, and as we gaze upwards, we can stop once we see the ceiling. Protect the back of your neck. Let's see if we can inhale, lift up through the chest. You can really feel your legs lengthening and pressing downward to try to keep the torso upwards lifted. You can imagine at the belly button, things are working kind of in this opposite motion as we're lifting up through the torso, bringing the gaze upwards, opening up the throat. You may open a small O with the mouth, maybe enlarge it to a larger O. See if even gently rolling the jaw underneath can help release any tension, any grinding of the teeth. And after that last exhale, we're going to go ahead and bring the eyes back down and come back to center. Eyes at the midpoint, nice and soft. Give yourself a nice bend to the knees. Feel your mountain once more, lift up to the toes if you need. Shake out any residual activation from that pose. And returning to our mountain, we'll begin our walking meditation by starting with our folds. Bringing the hands downward And usually you can just be in mountain. You don't have to bend the elbows as I do, but I'm giving you that idea of you're really reaching downwards. So just in mountain, we're reaching downwards, feeling that rooting, even at the soles of the feet, all the way up through the crown of the head. Fingers are reaching. Inhaling, we're bringing the arms upwards, extending the arms all the way at the top. Exhale, let's bend the knees if we need. Start to stick out the tailbone just slightly, hinging at the hips, coming down with a long back. Strong back. Core is engaged to help keep the back supported. Walk the hands down the legs if you need, but slowly let the back unfurl. We're coming down to our first fold, which is pretty lengthy. And if you're here, you're just letting your back relax. You might have your hands on your thighs to help support the upper body, but you're feeling that once more. Hips to heel, center of support, and the bend of the knee to help. If you have tightness in the back of the knee, the deeper the bend. See if you can rotate the tailbone outwards, flex at the hips, right here at this crease. And staying here for about 5 breath cycles. You can do a number of things. You can notice how your body is aligning. You can try to bring it into alignment. Roll some weight more towards the heels if you feel yourself tipping towards the front. You can deeply bend one knee, straighten it. Deeply bend the other knee, straighten it best that you can. Keep the bend if you need. And breathing deeply, you might feel that sideways expansion of the rib cage, even if your chest is resting on your thighs. Breathe deeply. See if you can release from the tailbone, down the spine, down the neck, even through the crown of the head. See if you're holding on to the weight of the head. Gently bobble the head from left to right, forward and back. See if you can let the crown of the head be a plumb line, just using the help of gravity to release. Now, wherever you are, if your hands are on the legs, we're going to firm up our belly. We're going to do a slow roll up. If your hands are just loose, engage the core. Start to step into the feet. We're going to firm up the thighs, engaged core, and you can slowly roll up. As you bring this back up, notice how your hands might press into the legs. Use more of your inner thighs, press into the feet, engage the glutes, straighten up the legs, come on up. One vertebra at a time. Last thing that stacks is the head. You're pressing in, you're internally bringing that rotation in, feeling stable from that center core. Let's go ahead, inhale once more, reaching downward, our second fold. We're bringing the arms up. Fully inhaled at the top, lift up from the torso. Exhale, engage the core, bend the knees if you need, stick the butt out, and start to hinge at the hips. Float on down, walk the hands down if you need, and then let the back unfurl once more. Bringing the feet down, feeling the firmness of the support from the hips to the heels. It's a little shorter time this time, maybe about 3 breath cycles now, so you can rock the sacrum from side to side. You can gently see if you're still holding on to the head. And then breathe deeply. You might find that you can relax a little more into your fold this time. Now here you have another chance to do a slow roll up if that felt good to you and safe, or you can also lengthen through the back, but engage the core either way. Press into the feet, firm up the legs. Inhale, bring the hands together if you're coming up with a straight back. Bend the knees, press into those legs. Stand straight up. Exhale, hands down, heart center. And here we'll start our walking meditation, bringing standing weight to the left leg. Inhale, lift the right foot, step the foot down. You can do a slow, gentle heel, ball of foot to toe. If you have plantar fascia, just use the center of your foot. But it's basically one full breath cycle, inhaling a foot up, exhaling it down per step. Engaging the core, pressing into those palms. If you start to feel wobbly, and if you fall out, that's okay. Just come back. And as we meet at the top of the mat, hands in prayer in our mountain, inhale, press into the palms and watch the fingertips rise. At the top, release the palms, engage the core and hinge at the hips. Long, strong back. Bend the knees if you need. Come on down for another fold. Fully exhaled here. Inhale, half lift. Lengthen through the back best that you can. Maybe not at a 90 degree, but maybe it's more at a 45 degree. That's okay. Just lengthen through the back. You might have to keep the bend to your knees. You might feel that you can internally rotate those thighs, stick the butt out, and find length in the back. But whatever you're doing, honor your practice. Maybe it's a work in progress. Fully exhaled into our fold. Let's inhale, half lift once more. Exhale to the fold, bend the knees. Bring the hands down to either side of the feet and walk the foot. One foot, another foot, all the way back to the mat. We're going to inhale, bring the shoulders over the hands. Fingers are splayed. Bring the knees down. Bring the toes, untuck them. And here in our modified high plank, see if you need to adjust the position of the shoulders. Maybe you walk the hands. Maybe you lift the knees, bring the shoulders back further. If your wrists are a little tight, you can always be a little further back so your wrists are not at 90 degrees. You can also, if you have your blocks handy, bring blocks to help. Sometimes just having that added height there. And you can always move them away as you're moving through your practice too. These are options in case. So here we're just pressing into these extended arms so that we can bring those shoulder blades away from the spine. And we're just supporting the upper body by the strength of our shoulders. Let's go ahead and tuck the toes. We're going to lift the knees up, go the hips, exhale, press into those long straight arms so you can bring the hips back to your down dog. Hopefully the head is somewhere in between the upper arms. Feet are about hips distance apart. And you can lift up high on the tiptoes, on the balls of the feet. Exhale, gently see where those heels land. They don't have to be on the mat. Notice if your elbows are bent outwards. We want to bring those elbows inward so if they bend, they point backwards. We really want to just see if we can use the entire palm all the way from the heel to the fingertips to help distribute the weight that we're supporting with the upper body. Arms are nice and strong, so engage your shoulder blades, lengthening through the arms. We're going to inhale one more time, lift up through the heels, exhale, lower heels one more time. Engage your core, stick the belly button to the spine. We're going to bend the knees, inhaling, exhale, walk the hands to the back of the mat, to the fold. Fully bent knees. You can roll back here to the fold. Inhale, lengthen, exhale, fold. Bend the knees if you need. Inhale, walk the hands up or come up with a straight back, but engage the core. Feet firmly planted, thighs strong. Inhaling, push into the feet, engage the glutes, come on up. Lengthen from the center of the feet, zip up the inner thighs, lengthen through the belly, hands up. Exhale, hands down, heart center. Core is engaged and release. Inhaling our second walking meditation. Hands come up, foot comes up, exhale, right foot comes down. Inhale, left foot up, exhale, left foot down. And as you make your way to the top, to slow, steady walking meditation, at the top of the mat, looking down at the fingertips, press into the palms. Inhale, hands up. At the top, separate the palms. Engage the core, bend the knees, hinge at the hips. Come on down. Feet firm, hips firm, all the way down to your fold. Fully exhaled. Inhale, half lift. If you have your blocks there, you can help with a half lift. Exhale, fold. Bend the knees if you need. Come on down. Hands at either side of the feet. Bring one foot back, the other foot back. Inhale, shoulders over the wrists for a high plank. And make your adjustments. We're here for a shorter time, 3 breaths here. Engage the core, feel strong from the heels all the way to the crown of the head. Bring those wrists, rotate them outwards just slightly to bring the elbows to point back. Inhale, lift the hips. Exhale, press them back to our down dog. Separate the feet if you need. Coming down to our second dog.
Lengthen the hips are going up. Lengthen from the tailbone all the way down to the fingertips. From the tailbone all the way down to the balls of the feet. Maybe even the heels. And if you can imagine, if your heels are nearer to the floor, just hovering above. As you get closer to the floor, you may want to feel more of the inner arch coming in. You might need to bend the knees slightly to feel that. See if you have that outer rotation more. See if the inner rotation is a little better. Next inhale, look to the hands, bend the knees, and let's walk those hands to the fold at the back of the mat. Fully exhaled here. You can adjust your feet. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, come up, your choice once more. Engage your core. Feel strong and condensed here. Inhaling. Pressing into those legs, using your sitting up muscles. Let's go ahead and bring the hands down, heart center. Fully exhaled here. Bring the hands out to rest at the side. And you might feel really warm now, so it's a great time for some water. And just having all the triple-digit heat, keeping that water nearby is so important. It'll affect your arthritis, it'll affect your focus so much. So from here, we usually move into our balance poses, and we're going to focus on our shoulders today. So keeping our mountain stance right now. And let me make sure I have all these little exercises that I'm hoping not to forget. So just working from the shoulders, we're going to check in with mountain. And okay, this is the thing to think about. In our Bikram practice of yoga, they begin with a stretching in our standing. We want to be about hips distance apart. If your balance is at issue sometimes, and if you look up and you feel a little dizzy, you definitely want to have the feet hips distance apart. You're probably going to want to have a chair, a wall near you, something to lean out your hand in case you have a dizziness. But if you're okay, then just go ahead and stand with your hips, your feet under your hips. Another thing to think about is if you're really good here and you just want to challenge yourself more with lengthening through the body, feeling that human architecture support you, you can bring the inner arches of the feet closer together. This requires a great deal more strength in the inner thighs to keep you stable. So you can do that as well, but I'm just going to start from the midpoint here, about hips distance apart. Keep a bend to the knees if you need. We're going to bring our hands, inhale, at the side. Thumbs are up. We're just bringing them up to meet. If your palms can meet above the head, that's great. If you meet out here at a tangent, that's good too. We're lengthening, finding our way up, finding the length as well as the strength to reach upwards. Press down into the balls of the feet towards the inner arches as you lengthening upwards. You can bring the gaze up, but if you're dizzy, you don't have to. You can look straight ahead. Exhale, bring the hands down, heart center gently, and then let them float to the side. Go ahead and lift up the shoulders, rock them forward and back. Do whatever feels good. Just counter stretch. We're going to do that again. So inhaling the arms up. If they can meet at the top, let's intertwine the fingers. Index fingers and thumbs stick out like a big pointer finger, and we're once more lifting up. From the fingertips, press down at the balls of the feet. See if your inner arches can press down, all points of the feet, and we can lift up. Breathe in at the top. Exhale, bring the hands down once more. And as you bring the hands down, you might feel your glutes just starting to relax, but you keep a gentle activation of them, a gentle tuck under of the tailbone. Inhaling, we're bringing the arms up. We're reaching and grabbing the fingers, intertwining them if possible, and we're going to press into the left foot. Make sure that's nice and anchored. Lift up. Exhale and keep that gentle side curve. We're really lifting from the armpit. We're keeping that left foot down. We're feeling a stretch here. We may not curve too much to this side. We want to get that upward lengthening, and as we're still upwardly reaching, then we just do that side curve. You'll feel a nice stretch here. And if your shoulders are tired, we're going to press into the feet. Inhale, up, engage the core. Let the hands come down, heart center. Let them float and let the tops of the shoulders relax. You might just wave them in the air, forward and back, side to side. If you have good upper body strength, keeping the arms up is not a problem. If you're working on that, do these counter stretches through each one as we transition. Inhaling, the hands can come up once more. And we're going to intertwine the fingers. Stabilize at the foundation of the feet. Don't hyperextend the knees, but keep that good stability. Lift up, inhaling, press into the balls of the feet. Engage the inner thighs. We're just going to keep that right foot planted as we start to shift weight, leading with the fingers towards the left. You can inhale and exhale here a few times. Just bring that edge to your focus while you're still holding the form. Exhale, engage the core. Inhale all the way back up. Exhale, hands down, heart center. Go ahead and bend the knees gently. Give yourself a nice little bounce. Inhale, come back to your mountain. Now with this next one, we're just going to look up and kind of get a back bend. And we're not bending our back, we're just bringing the gaze upwards. We're going to have a lot of space between the back of our neck, and we're going to feel a lifting at the sternum. But you don't need to do too much movement. It's not much space to do our back bend. So bringing the hands up once more. You can intertwine them or just lifting them all the way up. Wherever you are, see if you can roll the eyes upwards to see your hands. And if you notice that your shoulders are caving into your ears, see if you can just bring the bottom of your shoulder blades downward just slightly. It might bring you a little space between your ears. And as you bring more of the gaze upwards, it's just the gaze, just the head. The body is not moving, it's just the gaze. And then exhale, feel firm and rooted, feet are planted. Bring the gaze back to center, hands down, heart center. And we're gonna just let them sweep back and forth again, once more. Just let that natural weight kind of bring the arms up. And then bend the knees, give yourself any movement. If you have a tendency to grip while you're standing, you'll feel it now. Alrighty, and then as we go through there, the next one are the chest lifts. So once more, bringing a comfortable stance to the feet. Get connected, feel like all points. Are you rolling out towards the outer edges? Are you rolling your ankles inwards? See if you can get all 4 points. That's the front big toe to pinky toe. Come on down to the nice 4 back points of your heels, all down at the same time. You might find that you have to play a little bit with just the internal rotation, external rotation of your hips. And as you feel that stable, you can hopefully feel the knees over your ankles. Gentle tuck under of your tailbone, and then lift upwards. Those shoulders come back and down and sink into your top mountain. Gentle tuck of the chin. We're going to bring the arms out to a T, palms facing forward. We're going to bend at the elbows. Go ahead and start to bring one arm under the other and draw it across the chest. It's just going to come in and then stop. You don't want to force it in, but we're just going to feel that movement. You'll feel it in the back of your shoulder blade. If you have a gentle tuck of the chin, you'll feel some release hopefully in the back of the neck. Inhale, bring the gaze back up. Lift up the arms, both. Bring them back out to another one of these cactus folds. We're going to bring the right arm underneath the left and draw that in. On the inhale or the exhale, see how that feels. Inhaling, we're just folding it in. You might stop at that edge. Take another breath here. Exhale, see if you can draw in your elbow just a slightly more. Your shoulder might roll downward to open up through the back. Again, another gentle tuck of the chin. Crown of the head is still lifted up. We're not resting our chin on our chest. And then breathe. Inhale, open the arms up. Bring both arms out to a T and let them come on down. Go ahead and let them just do something like this. One arm out in front of the other. And then we're going to go ahead and bend our knee. Come up to the tiptoes. Notice if your legs are, wow, really active. We want to release that once more. Step up. And we'll move on to a few more here. We have a, oh good, we get to hug, do an eagle, and then a torso twist. So, coming back into our mountain, feeling nice and stable, a little longer, a little taller in our mountain once more. Let's go ahead and bring the arms out to a T, palms are facing forward. We're going to exhale, bring them to hug. They just land where they do. Take an inhale, open up, lift up through the sternum, lengthen through the legs. Opposite arm goes underneath the other. Inhale, open. Exhale, under. Goes the other one. One more. Inhale, open. Exhale. Now hold here. I'm going to turn around. And as you inhale, lift up through that crown of the head. Feel nice and long through the back of the neck, keeping the space under the chin still. We're inhaling, feeling as if our hands are pulling those shoulders closer to each other, opening up the back of the shoulder blades. Inhale. Exhale. Start to curl at the shoulders, just like an opposite of rolling up. We're going to roll slowly until we stop when we can see down below. See if we're where our center is. Is it a little bit off? Bend the knees, bring that center at the heels, not towards the toes. Inhale, start to roll up the spine upwards. Release the arms up. Give yourself a nice little opening here, and we're just going to continue. Keep opening up. Do your little spin wheels, and what you can do is have one arm come out in front of the other, and then when you go through that next revolution, have that other arm go in front. I know it's a little coordination, but it's just something. Now, at the bottom, we can change our direction and use a little more of that momentum. And again, if you can coordinate it, bring one hand to be in the front, and then change that position with the next round. And then go ahead and let them just peter out, roll out the shoulders once more. Hopefully that's releasing a lot. And we're going to come into our eagle. So inhaling, we're bringing the palms to face backwards, and then only up to that T, and then we'll go ahead and swoop under here and cross your elbows if you can. If you can, you're going to bend the elbows at this like shoulder fold that we did earlier, and see if you can bring the palms to each other. Inhaling, the palms may touch. Fingers are up. Some people are really able to bring the palms evenly together. Others might just be really high up with one hand above the other. Feel the opening at the back of the shoulders. If you inhale, make sure you're stable in your foundation. You can step down into the feet, lengthen, tucking under the tailbone. Inhale, crown of the head lifts, the gentle tuck of the chin, the shoulders are sort of opening up as you gently hug into this eagle arm pose. And then when you're ready, we're going to release on the exhale, just unwind. And let them kind of fold back and just dangle there. See if you just let them go. You might look maybe 20 feet in front of you. See if you can have a nice long neck with a slight tilt of the crown of the head towards the diagonal. Press into those legs, lengthen through the legs, and then relax. See if you can just use muscles needed to keep the form of the body supported. And then we'll go ahead and bring the gaze back up to center. Gently bend the knees, lift up to the tiptoes once more. We're going to go for a torso twist, and then we're done with our shoulders. So let's go ahead. You can do something like this. It just helps to loosen up. And we'll, once more, we're going to inhale, bring the palms out in front, really reaching outwards with the fingertips. Go ahead and draw the hands in, bring the hands towards the hips. And we're going to inhale, lift up through the chest, gentle tuck of the chin, open up through the shoulders and the chest by just bringing the elbows back a little bit, bring them forward a little bit, bring them back. And then we're going to let the hands draw downwards. And as we're opening up the tops of the shoulders, feeling the fingers opening them up more by just simply letting gravity pull them downwards. We're going to lift up through the feet. We're going to press down through the feet. We're going to lift up through the torso, through the crown of the head, and slowly just turn as one unit, the entire torso, not one shoulder and then the other shoulder, the entire thing at one time until we stop. It may not be much. Notice if your left heel lifted, we want to keep that in place. We're just turning the torso. The gaze is in line with the chest, and we're turning until we stop. Our hands are at the side. We might put our hands back at the hips. Inhale, see if we can roll the shoulders up and back and down. Notice how our feet are responding to this twist to this side. Inhale, let the arms down. Exhale. Inhale up. Shoulders, torso, all in one line comes back to center, back to mountain. And then here we go. Dip on back in. We're going to inhale once more up here. Go ahead and bring the arms up. Bring them into the hips once more. We're going to lift up through the chest. Then let the arms down. And as we're still lifted, gentle tuck of the chin, we're just turning the torso until it stops. And remember, it's not one shoulder and then the other. It's the shoulders and the chest is one unit. We're just turning. We're turning at the waist as our hips are staying in place. So if our hips turned with us, we're just going to return back to center and turn the torso. Come back into it. It's the torso that we just want to turn slightly to the left. Keep the foot anchored, keep the hips facing forward. You can keep the hands here and use the breath to help facilitate a little more stretch to the left. And then exhale. We bring the gaze, the torso, all, and the shoulders all as one unit back to center, and we can release the hands. Go ahead and lift up the foot, roll the ankle. Notice any popping sounds. And then we'll go ahead and come on down. Here is our chair. So I wanted to demonstrate with the chair. We're going to come into a supported tabletop. And we only have a few of these with the chair, but we get to now open up through the hips with the support of the chair. So I think I might move. No, I will still be on camera, but I'm going to bring the chair up just a little closer here. But having the chair situated, now it just depends on your chair, but if you're on a slippery floor, you don't want the chair sliding, so you need to have at least 2 feet on a rug or something, your mat. You also want your blocks nearby, so just bringing the blocks to about where the feet are. You can have it on the highest setting. If you know that it's difficult to do a forward fold, you may need to have these blocks up here at the seat, and that's okay. We could start here, but hopefully you'll adjust as you go. So to prepare as we're going to do some deeper stretches in our fold, with the chair in front of us, and typically you just bring the chair out in front and then step 1 step, maybe 2 back, because we're just going to fold and hopefully have the chair where we can land our arms. So inhaling nice and tall in our mountain, engage the core, and stick the butt out, start to hinge at the hips. We're moving that pelvic bowl back, and the long back is engaged with the core, and we can always walk the hands down the legs. Hey, we can even put our hands out to where this chair is. We're going to bring our body into a 90-degree fold, a 90-degree half lift that we mentioned earlier in our practice during the walking meditations. But we're really going to do this with some consciousness. So if it feels better and you have sensitive wrists, maybe a forearm on the block, maybe something like this. But we want to keep the vision downward or even looking towards our feet. We don't want to crane the neck. We want to save our neck. What we're doing here is just allowing the lower body to come into that hips to heel support that I'm often talking about when we're in our fold, when we're in our half lift, as we're coming down, even in a squat. You want to feel that the hips are directly above the heels. And as you find more of that stability there, see if you can lift up your hands from the chair. If you don't feel you have that inner core, you can always move a little closer to the chair, but you can play with that. Cultivate the core and the foundation. See if your feet, are you rolling more towards the toes? You want to bring more of your stability, the center, towards the hips, down to the heels. Are you rolling out towards the outer edges? Bring more weight towards the inner edges. See if you can just get the flat of the sole of the feet to support you. And once you're there and you've got that down, then you can think about lengthening and stretching through the back and eventually getting some of the hip opening from that. So what we can do is we can bring the forearms to rest on the chair. We can bring the blocks down if we're getting more of that fold at the hinge and we're good there. We're just releasing through the back. Now we're going to come out of this released forward fold that we've been in for a while. And you want to stabilize through the feet, through that hip area. That's your support. We're going to bring the hands, the heels of the hands are going to be at the edge of the seat there. And inhale, start to press into the hands, lengthen through the arms so you can extend the arms and come back to that half lift. And you might have to bend the elbows, just depends on your bench, your chair, how tall it is. You might have to have the forearms so that you're in, if you have a high chair, so you're in more of that 90-degree angle of the back here. We want a tabletop position of the back, just a neutral back. And you can bend the knees. And remember, as you get deeper into that flexion of the hips, if you have impingement here and that, that never feels good. You can always roll the sits bones out, internally rotate those inward thighs, kind of stick the tailbone out, and that helps to open up the hips so you can come into a little bit more of a fold and you don't have the impingement hopefully bothering you. So we're here. And let's go ahead and as we're in our tabletop, we're going to now bring it into more of a high plank situation, but modified with our chair. You can step back a little bit if that feels good, or you can start with that tabletop positioning of the feet. But all we're going to do is lengthen through the arms and bring the shoulders over the wrists now, just like we did in our walking meditation. And it was modified then with our shins down, but we've got the chair kind of modifying the support of the upper body for us. And what you can do is you can roll to the balls of the feet and slowly lower the heels. We're kind of feeling where our high plank is by getting that nice hypotenuse from the heels all the way to the shoulders. And I'm just going to fix my mat for a second here. But you can start playing with that. Now, if you're starting to really feel it in the wrists, let's go ahead and step the feet back up. Come back to our fold, bring the weight to the hips once more, and release, shake out those wrists. And then we're going to bring the hands back down and step back once more and come into a more pronounced, more focused high plank. So your legs may be longer. Your legs might be further back behind you so you can get more of that hypotenuse of the high plank. And you can have the shoulders coming up and rolling towards the wrists. And you can play with this. Lift up the heels, lower the heels. And you're still in a pretty modified high plank. You can have your hips slightly flexed, but we don't want our hips to really, be non-supported. I can't even do that. That would hurt. So you can have it a little higher than the hypotenuse if it helps. And then let's go ahead and bring the feet back downward and draw them back towards the chair. We're going to walk back up, come back up here to our tabletop position now, and inhale, lengthen through a neutral spine. And that just means you might have to stick the tailbone back a little bit. Play with a rocking of the pelvic bone slightly forward and back, tucking under and then out the tailbone. And you can splay the fingers out because that really helps to distribute the weight, the pressure onto the wrists. And then we're going to inhale. Let the belly get nice and relaxed. Let the shoulders be soft. And then we're going to exhale. Press into the balls of the feet. Let the legs lengthen. Let the arms lengthen. And curve the upper back. Curve and tuck under the tailbone. And let's come into a cat. Sort of a modified standing cat here. We're just exhaling, really curving out the top of our shoulders. And then exhale. We're going to let the pelvic bowl start to tilt back again. Come back into a neutral spine and see how that felt at the feet. Now, if you have your blocks down, you have the option of walking the hands down, bending the knees deeply, or you can just come into a squat using the chair or using the block, or just coming into however you're comfortable. But you can bring the hands to the blocks. And at this stage, when we're close to the ground, keep it at the flattest level. Even at this setting, you can wobble down as you have a great deal of your weight, supporting you as you come down. So you can rock on the soles of the feet. If you're at the chair and you're doing this, you're just helping to cultivate flexibility in the arches and the balls of the feet. And then if it's just too much to bear, you can always bring the blocks down. And we're going to bring our shins onto the blocks. Have your hands onto the chair, and you can help to press up the hips and untuck those toes. The shins should hopefully support you, and just tuck under the tailbone and lengthen through the hips. You can extend through the arms to help lengthen up through the torso. We're coming into a camel. We're just basically keeping the hips extended and finding hopefully comfort with the blocks under the shins, or just the shins being on the floor. We're not dumping our weight into the kneecaps. The majority of our weight is by the strength of our shin. And let's go ahead and lengthen upwards through the chest. Exhale. We're going to lift up through the chest as we hinge at the hips and start to tilt the hips back, so we can bring the hips downward without any discomfort, hopefully. And you can walk the hands down. Come on down from the blocks. However is easiest for you. You can tuck the toes, remove the blocks. Or if you have the chair, you could just from there move the blocks away with your knees. But now we're just going to come on down and meet on our back, however is comfortable for you. Sometimes after I get the knees down, I just roll over to my hips. Come out in some graceful fashion back onto the mat. And just have fun. Come on down the way that you can. And we're going to move into Shavasana. That's where we're just laying down on the floor, letting the body respond to today's practice, to your practice. Now, if you have lower lumbar issues, if you've got tight hips, really helps to have a rolled up blanket. Maybe it's only rolled up once, maybe it's twice, but it's to help support the lower back. Sometimes having that support at the lower back helps. Sometimes having it under the knees helps. Sometimes if you just have a bony sacrum, having a nice blanket to rest your back on feels good. But as you move into Shavasana, let the belly relax, let the feet be nice and long, and just rest. Rest on your back. I'm going to sit up so I can mind the time, but you'll be on your back and hopefully palms up. If you're cold, you can always put a blanket on and just let the body respond. If your tongue is stuck to the top of your mouth, to the roof of the mouth, let it gently release. If your fingers are tightly curled, let them loose and let them just naturally be slightly unfurled. And all you're doing is just breathing. Things might come to mind, that's okay. Just breathe, and then next thing you know, your body's just releasing. When you hear the 3 bells, we'll awaken. bringing the mind back to the body, taking note of sounds outside the room. Notice the air as it enters the breath. Notice the breath as it enters the body. As the chest lifts with each inhale, as the belly falls with each exhale, you're reconnecting to the body vessel once more. You can make movements in the fingers, toes, other parts of the body can rock, maybe on the hips, on the sacrum. Do what you need to do to connect to the physical vessel once more. And then we'll meet in an upright seated position. Today I'm sitting, just demonstrating a hero pose. You can sit with your easy seated position of one foot out in front of the other, kind of like a crisscross applesauce sort of seat position. You can sit with your staff position, legs out in front of you. And this is another position as well. Keeping some distance, keeping something to support the distance between the hips and the heels will really help if you have tightness in the hips and the heels. That can be a block that's between the heels and the hips. It could be a block that's in between the legs. It can be the flat setting of the block. It could be a rolled up blanket. But if you're sitting, and I'm going to move over to my staff position, we'll end our class with our breathing exercise. I'm going to give you a side view of staff today. And because my hips have been so tight, I've been finding myself really supported by blocks when I'm down on my seated position on my on the floor. So, don't hesitate to use what you need. Sometimes it's a couch cushion. Sometimes it's your big yoga bolster. Maybe it's 3 blocks, but make sure they're stable. You don't fall off. And what we're going to find is with tight hips, and even in our staff, or if our legs are one shin out in front of the other, they're high up, so we may even need some blocks here to help. But we're hopefully bringing that pelvic tilt to the, we're bringing a tilt to the pelvic bowl so that we can bring our spine upwards. And that's what we're looking for when we're sitting down, whether it's on the floor or on the chair, right? We want to be on the sits bones. We never want to be on our tailbone, because that means our curve to the back is really going to start hurting us. So one thing we can always do is just bring our hands to the side, lift up. It's going to lift up our spine, and it'll just automatically help roll the pelvic bowl to an anterior tilt, where the crest up here is forward tilting, and we've got a little bit of what we might have of a tailbone sticking outwards. And then once we do that, we're going to internally rotate those thighs. How do you know if your legs are internally rotated? You'll have your knees and your toes pointed up towards the ceiling. We don't want to hyperextend those. So if you're up high, you might have something to support the knees, or you might just have them in a slight bend. But here, we usually end our class with a breathing exercise. And so we're going to have a pretty simple one right now, since we're a little bit over. Just do our prayer hands, and it will hopefully give us a little bit of a cat-cow kind of energy to rebalance as we're getting space to our shoulders as well. So standing here once more, nice and upright in our spine. 90-degree angle if we can. Gentle tuck of the chin, crown of the head lifting towards the ceiling. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, hands down, heart center. Engage your core as you're exhaling downwards. Arms are relaxed, but your palms can be gently pressing in. And at the bottom here, open up the tops of the shoulders. Inhale, arms out to the side, palms up. Reach all the way up, lengthen up here. Exhale, hands down, heart center. Engage the core. Inhale one more time. Hands up, up, up. Exhale, hands down, heart center. And here at the side, thank you so much for joining us here at the ACC's community room for noontime gentle yoga. I hope you have a wonderful day. Namaste. Yay! So you can